As a business
We're gonna lose our
owner,
town. If
definitely.
the school is not here, we're gonna lose our town. It's just a matter of time.
Well,
We have
what's
one
gonna
in
happen
five
to our
chance
town
of moving
between
somewhere
that?
else. You can move to Bloomfield, Osmond, Plainview, Wausau. What makes them fit Creighton? All
I
those
think
places
that's
are
where we need
closer
to
to
be
major
active and
metropolitan than
proactive, is
us.
let's sell it to these people to live here.
Based on what?
Why
We
not?
got Subway. Come on. We don't have anything to attract these people to these towns except our school. This is what we do. This is our school. We think this is the best thing for our kids, a career academy? No, it's not.
We're not gonna attract kids with 15 kids a class.
Yes,
That's
you are.
unfortunate.
You're gonna attract people like us who left here and came back because it's a small school. We were educated here. I know what it was like growing up. I know what my parents were like when it was growing up. This is what we want for our kids. That's why we're here. I lived in Omaha too, and when I started having kids, I don't want to live in Omaha. I want to be in a small town. I want my kids in a small community. I want them to be able to walk to their friend's house. I want them to be able to get a good education and have it be one of a small amount, not one of a large amount. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in a small town. And if I wanted a big school, I'd move to one. But I know it's a small school, that's why I'm here.
Well, let's say we get down to 12, 13 teachers, and it's hard to co-op with them, it's hard to share with another school. So what don't we offer to the kids? Do we not offer FFA? Do we not offer FCCLA? I mean, we're not gonna, if we only got 12, 13 teachers, we're not gonna hire teachers that will teach math and FFA, teach math and speech, teach math and, so what don't we, we're not gonna, there's gonna be a lot of things that aren't gonna be offered to the kids because we're only gonna have that many teachers to work with.
But if we co-op with other places, isn't that make an opportunity then? Because they've got
But
12, we've
you
got
know
12.
how, you know how easy it's been to share with another school already?
We've never tried, have we?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have.
Okay, what have we all co-opted with?
We've shared as far as wrestling, but we've also visited with Plainview as far as
Sports.
sharing teachers.
It's sports,
But we've
right?
never
That's
actually
all
done
we
it. No.
co-opted with.
No, we've tried to actually share staff members as well.
Yep.
And try to band or music or something.
And
Well,
if
why
Plainview
don't you share
doesn't
with
wanna
us?
work, try a different town.
Well, the problem is you start getting into additional mileage, you know, so, you know, Plainview is ideal because it's, you know, 14 miles away.
Well, that's the same.
You know, the problem is once you start looking at like Bloomfield, for instance, is, here's the other side of it. Let's say, I'm just gonna use, and for no other reason, I'm gonna say an art teacher. Let's say we share an art teacher. Now, if they're traveling 25 minutes to here, they're only gonna teach here probably 3 periods a day, okay? And so they're gonna teach 3 periods up there, they have their travel time as well. So, and then they have their planning period and their lunch period. And so we're only gonna get them here for 3 periods a day. Now, so what that's just done to our schedule is those kids can only take art on 3 periods a day. That's what they've been limited to. Maybe it's the afternoon here, it's the morning up there, or vice versa. But they're gonna be very limited to be able to get those courses moving forward.
How
You
many
know, the other
periods a
side.
day are they offered accounting right now?
Yes,
How many periods a day are they offered accounting?
1. But that's
What's the
because we
difference?
established the schedule set up that way.
Can we not change that?
We can always change the schedule, but you're gonna have 3 periods to get art. In accounting, you have 8 periods to get accounting.
Or you move to the college level style of schooling where for those less non-core classes, they only get it 2 days a week. And the teacher spends all day at one school, all day at another school.
Or you go to block scheduling.
Block scheduling is not the answer. Block scheduling and state testing is not the answer moving forward. There's a lot of schools that are moving away from the block schedule.
What teacher did we try to share? Was there one?
2.
2?
So we hired
was
2
that
teachers
teacher?
and they didn't work?
What's that?
We hired 2 teachers and it didn't
Well,
work?
it was a year ago, we tried to share band, for instance.
Right, and I know
You know, they was
that
gonna
the
teach
discussion
band
was
here.
happening, but did we hire someone and she actually went back and forth, or was it just discussed?
We flamed out.
Yeah.
I mean, we flamed out. But what we try to do is hire band here, choir there. We don't need a full-time band teacher. We needed a half-time band teacher. I mean, reality is we're getting very creative right now to try to occupy 8 periods a day when she's got 4 periods of work. And so, you know, the idea was we hire band here, they hire a choir there, transports in between. We even did mutual interviews. You know, their administration came up here, we interviewed our 4 candidates. We did that jointly, had it all set up, all done, and then it flamed out. And so we hired ours on our own, went full-time. They went from half-time all the way up to full-time. So,
So
and
we never
that's what,
actually had one that traveled and actually did like a semester of trying that?
No, there was no-
we just haven't been able to actually get something agreed upon.
And most teachers aren't gonna want to travel if they can find a job that keeps them in place.
So since you had mentioned band, like if you look at the band numbers now in elementary compared to a couple years ago, they're up, are they not?
Actually, every fifth grader but one is going out for band next year, fifth grade to B.
Yeah, so sometimes it's about finding the right people too.
I
mean,
completely agree,
And I can
completely
attest
agree.
for like the band teacher, you know, the prior teacher, I would have not had my children go out for band, but this individual, I mean, is so engaged with these
Mhm.
children that, you know, I think we took the focus away from some extracurricular over time, and we focused more on sports. And we didn't focus on those other things that can get our children very far in life, and I think she is bringing a whole new concept, and I believe she can continue to build the program, and
The biggest thing there is gonna be keeping her.
I agree.
You know, I mean, that's gonna be the biggest thing, is being able to keep her moving forward. You know, it is not good for a band program when you go through 7 band teachers over a 5-year stretch. You know, and, you know, to do it all over again, you know, and this is putting it out point blank, sometimes it would be better not to hire that one applicant that you had and letting it sit for a year, so that way you don't further decimate that program by having the wrong person in front of the room. But we went through a stretch there, we had one app. You know, this last time, we had more apps than we ever did combined with all the other years put together, and that was amazing.
Did those apps have kids
No,
that had applied?
no, well, you can't ask that on their resume. Now, it
Well,
comes
maybe
up
that's why we're
sometimes.
behind here though.
Now, if that person said, I have 35 kids, that would probably sound
hire
really,
her.
it would have sounded really good,
We're gonna have 50 people in the band.
really would.
But my question is, okay, we're gonna move the high school
Mhm.
because the grades are down. How long is it gonna be before you move the grade school because the grades are down?
You know, that's
the-
not
the
any of the
students
discussion
are
at this
down.
point at all.
But
It's
there
gonna
should be-
happen.
What's gonna happen?
It's
I
gonna
mean, there
happen.
should be some sort of study, correct? I mean, if we're in the process of feasibility studies,
Mhm.
that probably should be a study, the matter of time before we have 2 kids in an elementary classroom, as well as there probably should be a feasibility study as far as natural attrition of who we might lose by
Right.
doing this merger, correct? And I mean, I know Mr. Ehlers, and he's a great guy, he's very knowledgeable, but I would think that those would be things we would want to look at as
Right.
well.
I think sending a survey out with, you know, just ask people, okay, if this goes through,
Yes.
are you going to send your kids there or are you gonna opt them out?
Mhm.
I'm 9 miles from Verdigris,
Sure.
and if you put it out at Midland, that's 25 miles,
You're gonna go to very great.
you know?
But,
I'm not
you know,
saying I'm
and
gonna
this is
send
the
in
bad
there,
thing
but
is
it's a
for our district.
possibility, you
And
know,
for our
it's a
district, we're at a
possibility.
crossroads, because as we move forward with this approach, and it's no different than Osmond with some people sitting to the south of their district,
Right.
Wausau sitting to the north of our district. A lot of these communities are at a crossroads of, you know, which way do we head, what do we do? You know, for us, you know, just like what you said, as you sit western part of our district, and you're looking at 25 miles as opposed to 15 miles, that's a tough decision for you. But at the same time that you're having that decision, there's other families right now that are going through the same thing of
Right.
whether they can stay here or not. You know, and those are conversations that people are having as well.
Yeah.
And so it's, for every one in your case, there's another situation right within whether or not they're gonna stay or go as well.
Cause to me, I guess what it seems like to me is basically we're creating country schools again. Is what, you know, basically what we're doing. The whole community is going to one school in the country.
And you're right, it's happened in a lot of states
Yeah.
already. I mean, like Iowa is probably on their 2nd round.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
even
know.
on their 3rd and 4th round in some
You
scenarios.
know,
Right.
winter South Dakota, the parents had to drive their kids 30 miles to school. Well, you can't work a job
Mhm.
and drive, you know, take an hour to get them to school and then take off at 3 to get them back from school,
Boarding school,
you know.
dormitory attached to the school.
You know,
Yeah.
well, the projection wise, and again, I'm gonna say projection only, you know, this is projected 8 to 12 miles away from our community. So, you know, the big question for Creighton is if we don't do this, what is our community gonna look like moving forward as well? You know, as we lose X amount of businesses over the next few years, because we know that's gonna happen as well. We're gonna lose X amount of kids over the next few years, because we know that's gonna happen. And we're gonna lose X amount of population, because we know that's happening. Those things are without a doubt are happening right now. And so we can try to stay status quo and move forward, or you try to reverse it and change it.
What
I
is,
think
what,
positive, we're gonna get more kids.
I
We're
think
gonna
there's a lot of
get
people
more
moving
families.
fast though, actually. I've heard of a lot of new families coming in that have young kids and I'm like, I didn't know you guys were moving here. And there's actually quite a few, like my age people starting to move back, so people in their 30s, so just starting their families. I mean, I don't know, I'm kinda getting tired of everybody saying everybody's leaving, nobody wants to stay here, and I don't think that's true.
I say there's not a lot of empty houses sitting around.
Yeah.
I mean, as
That's
far
the
as
one
losing-
problem with Creighton is they don't have empty
What
houses.
is,
I mean, as far as
what is
losing
the
businesses,
sustainable
we're gaining
number?
businesses right
When
now.
you talk about sustainable, is it, how many kids per class is the sustainable? Is it above that? It works below that? It doesn't sustain itself in the
Well,
long term?
I'm gonna be very careful to say this, and I know this is being filmed too. But you know, when you look at that, if we can, you know, offer 10 kids a class, if Osmond can provide 10 kids a class, if Bloomfield can provide 10 kids a class, and Plainview can offer 10 to 15 kids a class, and Wausau can offer, you know, 8 to 10 kids a class, that's sustainable moving forward.
Are you talking within our school, Roger?
No, I'm
You're
not-
talking to the-
You're talking about sustainable numbers, as in, if you don't make so many kids per high school, 9 through 12, the system doesn't work because the classes get smaller, people move away, can't hire enough teachers, you know, the whole thing ultimately collapses. And so that's my understanding and point of this merger is to create a sustainable number of high school students so the school can stay viable and everything will continue to be successful. But what is that sustainable number? Does, you know, if it's not 12 or 15, does that mean Verdigris is unsustainable in the long term? Because they are a very small school, last I heard. And Wausau has been very small. And, you know, I'm just wondering, what is the number that, in all the studies and projections, somebody has got to have come up with a number that says, okay, if there's less than 16 kids per high school class, that'd be 64 in the 9 through 12, it's not sustainable, the system collapses. If there's more than 75, it will work. So when we're talking sustainable numbers here, what is a sustainable size?
You know, and I think you have to throw multiple equations in there. You know, for some districts, it's finances that play a part in that too. You know, we're not there yet. You know, for other districts, it might be facility needs as well, that plays as part of that too. So it's really hard to pinpoint one number on there when you throw, you know, just in these 5 schools, everybody's a little bit different with the issues that they have moving forward.
Then let's talk, can I ask your sustainable number that you were referring to earlier when you were talking about sustainable? So what do you see as sustainable then when you're talking about it?
For our school standing alone,
And your discussions, I assume it was talking about Creighton's only, standing alone,
we're gonna be dropping below sustainable very soon,
which is,
below 30.
so roughly 30 students per class is sustainable. Anything below that really isn't in the long
Not
term.
over time. You
Here's
know,
something to think
unfortunately
about.
for us, as you look at the 1 to 5 year frame, we're okay. That 5 to 10 frame, things get much more difficult. And when you get beyond that, things are gonna be very tough.
So it's not a
From now.
financial sustainability, it's a population sustainability.
Population, but then it'll turn to finances over time.
As people
Yeah,
out there
it's
laying
gonna
out
turn
in
to
the other
finances over time.
That would be with the amount of teachers we have right now and the amount of money coming in, all that. It has to be above 30.
You know, yeah,
When you're talking about opting the land out, are you talking about opting your land taxes?
Yes.
out of
You
the
could, yeah.
district?
Yes.
Okay, Wausau's had they had, 11 kids graduate?
right.
For quite a few years. Are those landowners opting their money
They
out?
stayed above the 60. The 1 year they brought in, I believe it was 5 to 10 foreign exchange students to stay above that number.
That's
Until it gets below that, you can't.
Yeah, and then we
Okay,
had that
okay.
thing called the wind farm that came in. See, they were on a levy override. Bloomfield and Wausau were both on levy overrides.
Okay,
And then the wind farm came in and gave them a good surplus of money there for a while. And so then they were able to drop their levies back low. Now, actually, out of the 5 districts today, Bloomfield used to be the highest, and now they're the lowest,
okay.
because their valuation skyrocketed during that time.
And your land has to butt up against that district.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be adjacent, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Adjacent's better.
How many teachers does Wausau have?
About 20. And that's not a 100% correct number, but it's roughly 20.
And their average class size is,
15-ish.
And their principal, Mr. Hazing, gave a really good talk at our last meeting. He was telling us the problems he has scheduling because he only has one section of so many classes. So like if there's a kid that wants to take an extra class of something different, sometimes he has such a hard time because it's not possible because he's only got one section. And that's kind of the way their whole system is set up. You know, like you said, they've done some creative stuff like, you know, give a kid a class over lunch or whatever like that. But, and he had just a nice presentation about how difficult it is when you get to the lower numbers, then you only have one section of everything.
Does the Apex learning system help compensate for some of those students who want to put in the effort to do the things that aren't offered in the normal,
It helps, but it's not
routine?
ideal. I mean, it's still better to have that teacher in the classroom. You know, I mean, and I don't know if I used this example last time, but we have, for Rule 10 purposes, meaning you have to offer X amount of courses or credit hours per subject area. For instance, we have to offer a modern lit class, so that way we're over on credits in English. Well, 2 years ago, we offered the class, had nobody take the class, so we had to find one person to take that class. And so we bribed them with a pop every week or every day to take the course. Well, now we're right back in the same situation again. Well, the kid knew that 2 years ago, this person got a pop a day or a week, and so they upped it to a pop and a candy bar per day. You know, so now that'll be one kid sitting in the class. They don't really care to take it, but we gotta have them take it because we need it for Rule 10 purposes to stay above. And so that's a tough scenario. We had 7 courses this year that nobody took. You know, so now you're not offering those courses moving forward.
And you have to keep them for what reason?
For Rule 10. Rule
Which
10 is a Nebraska Department of Education number, and so when you look at Rule 10, you have to have X amount of credits in English, you have to have X amount of credits offered in math or science or social studies, and then also all your elective areas. So you're kind of playing that game. You know, we have, for instance now, and it's not ideal, we have some teachers teaching 2 different courses at the same time. So they might be having accounting here and accounting 2 in the same classroom. That's not ideal.
And if you don't offer it, the state doesn't give you any aid?
Well, if you don't offer it, for one, you impact on Rule 10.
Well, I mean, if you don't meet Rule
drop
10,
it,
what happens?
if you don't meet Rule 10, they close your doors.
Oh, I better meet Rule 10.
Yeah,
But if
so,
our kids don't have enough time now to take up those 7 courses, how by adding more courses are they gonna make time to do that?
they'll be able to take courses that they want to take, because they're gonna have flexibility in their schedule. You know, one thing is when you look at it, people think that when you get to 20 kids a class or 15 kids a class, it's easier to schedule. It's the exact opposite of that, because now all of your kids, you know, let's say your freshman kids are taking English, science, and social studies all together. You've just blocked them out of 3 periods because they're all in one section now. And so your flexibility is greatly diminished moving forward. So now they only have 5 periods to try to get, you know, their elective courses in, instead of having the full 8 to be able to find the courses that they need. And so your flexibility is greatly reduced.
So the study that they're doing right now with this $10,000 to kind of get people more information and see exactly what we need going forward, is there a timeline for when that's going to be completed so that the people can vote to see if they want to do this or not?
That will come up as we speak next week. You know, the idea there is get a short-term time frame moving forward in terms of the information we need to get. There's a couple of those subcommittees that need to work much faster than the other subcommittees. Those other subcommittees will be ongoing throughout. A couple of them need to be more immediate. From there, we can hopefully set a long-term time frame from there and prepare to get to that point. So whether that's 12 months from now or 16 months from now, that'll be kind of the moving forward route.
and who's involved in that meeting on the 23rd?
That again is 3 board members from each district.
What were the 3 that were signed?
Don't know yet, haven't signed it yet today.
I actually had somebody ask me today, because they know I've been coming to the board meetings, but wanted to know when the community was gonna vote on this. And I said, actually, I hasn't been set, but I said probably roughly a year or longer, because they were wanting to do some, I mean, this is strictly, and I told her to come, but she didn't come, but they were gonna do some remodeling on their house, but the husband must work, I believe he works out of town, and if this school goes through, he doesn't wanna do remodeling, they'll just move to Pierce, she said. So, which I know this is out there, but, I mean, when, I told her to come, but she didn't come, but I mean, they're basing a house thing on when this votes. I mean, and I told her, as far as I knew, this wasn't to that point yet. I mean, I know last New Year's said that was gonna be a community vote, but that's a ways off.
Yep.
So you are gonna let the community vote whether they wanna do it or not?
Yeah, I think that's been established.
And that's been the feeling of all the,
Oh, cause I've never heard that in just the,
yeah.
whatever I hear, you know.
That's
That'd be
the
something
feeling
I've
of
not
all
heard
the
anybody
people
say that.
That'd be maybe something nice to put out in the paper.
Yeah, that
Well,
makes, that
and
makes a
here's-
huge difference.
Our information, because we gotta put out accurate and correct information.
Is
Our
that not
information-
accurate, correct information though, that we are gonna have the.
Yes, it
public
is, but we need to make sure that we have established the attorney and start going down that time frame at that point. You know, so that way we can provide, these are the options moving forward. We cannot, you know, we're gonna move slower with information than what somebody can with incorrect information. You know, so, you know, I think and we'll actually come to that as we start talking about the study committee a little bit here too, so. Because the vote was discussed a lot.
I never,
I think that is a huge
there's a lot
concern.
going around that,
That's the
that
biggest
nobody's got a
thing.
vote on it.
Yeah. No, I think everybody in here has said that it's gonna come to a
So
vote.
that's,
I mean, whether
that's
it's,
good to hear.
I mean, you're gonna need a bond on it and that's automatically gonna be a vote.
Yeah.
That's what my
So-
concern is you're gonna come to us with a $52 million bond, we'll vote it down, you're gonna come back in 3 months and you're gonna keep hammering on us until you pass your bond. What everybody wants is a survey, a study of our school district saying, hey, do you wanna do this or not? If the community says no, you guys focus your time and effort on trying to keep our school
Saving
here,
this school.
not sending it somewhere else. That's what we're asking. We're not asking, we know there's gonna be a bond. Everybody knows there's gonna be a bond, and everybody knows how the bonds work. If you vote them down, you can come back and do it again, you don't have to wait. Everybody wants a survey of whether or not you proceed or do you not proceed.
But I
Because
think
then
we-
we kick the can, okay, yes, for $10,000 last meeting. And then, oh, here in 6 months, oh, we need another 5, and here pretty soon you're $50,000 in, it's like, well, geez, we're $50,000 in, how can we just close the doors on it? Get your support of your community and then proceed. I mean, that's bottom line. I mean, if our community votes and says, you bet, I'm not for this, but if the community votes for it and says, you bet, I'll fall in line.
You know, I guess if they don't vote for it, they're willing to
And
take
if-
the chance that
if-
eventually it's gonna
and you
close
already know that
anyway,
27%,
and they're out of the chance.
your voter turnout is 27%, so you're already on the upper end anyway. I just don't understand how, I mean, if you got the support, go on. If you don't have the support,
Why spend the money?
focus
and my
on something
personal
else.
feeling is that's why we need an attorney, because there's a legal way of doing things and not, and there's the wrong way of doing things.
And I don't know the right way to
And
do
I don't
it, I'm
either.
just telling you my opinion.
Yeah, we
But
just-
getting community support isn't illegal. You don't
Exactly.
need an attorney to tell you, no, you don't want your community support, or you do. I mean, it's not a legal issue when it comes to community support with any project, whether it's your school, fixing Main Street, you know, whatever the case may be. That's not a legality issue.
I know I was talking to other people in other communities too. I have family in Wausau and I work with a gal from Osmond. And I have heard more than one of them say that their school boards have made the comment, yeah, we'll put it to community votes if the lawyers allow us. Is that what it's gonna be? Is the lawyers gonna say, no, let's not do that? They have said that their schools boards have made that comment, if the lawyers
And that's
allow
coming
us to
directly
put
from
it
the
to a
school
school board.
boards?
That was from people in the community that had heard that from their school.
Were
boards.
they at the school boards to hear that?
I didn't ask that specifically.
You know, so, I mean, we are saying right now, this is gonna come to a vote. I mean, this will come to a vote. Now, a survey right now, what are we surveying on?
Whether or not the community
But
supports.
do they know what they're being surveyed on? Do they know the
We have to
information?
outline that in the survey.
Well, they
yeah.
knew,
What
you said
happened.
they had a survey in 2010, that
They-
was
they
out of
did.
the blue.
Yeah.
Well, at least then you have an idea of, you know,
I
what
mean,
people are thinking, what they
51%
want.
say yes. Go on.
But what would we be saying yes to? Or
That's
And you're
the
looking
whole
into,
thing.
to continue to look into the options.
Because
Check out
clearly,
if it'll
most
work.
of us don't want anything in our school to change. We like the way our school is. We like our school board members, we like the way things are. So most of us will automatically say no, without understanding what we're saying no
But
to.
what happens if you put all this money and time into it and people still don't come to these meetings? you're still getting the same people, they're still gonna have the same outcome. If people don't come to these, and I understand your guys' problem with trying to get it out to community, I really do.
It's a huge
But
problem.
it is. And I've been telling people, whether you're for it or against it or in between, come to these meetings. Because, and that's the thing, you can put all the money you want or you can vote now, but if people don't choose to get informed, it's not gonna make a difference. They're still gonna vote yes or no, whatever. But at least for the whole part, you actually have an idea of what your community might think. For me, for one, I would rather have my community want to push this through than to push this
Well,
through and nobody wanted it.
I won't be there.
I mean, seriously, if you want your community to push it through and go with it, then your community not wanting it and it gets pushed through anyhow, because then I think that's when you get the uproar and people have big issues.
Isn't that what happened in Verdigris, basically?
My question, do you have a lot of information to public? You know, I kind of been reading the editorials, but maybe I ain't been paying attention long enough, but I haven't really seen much information to really tell me, to give me enough information to make a real logical
Educational.
deal of whether or not I'm
Yep.
for it or against it. And I guess my thing is, you know, right now if you're a person that's gonna read the editorials, your first vote's gonna be is no, because you know for right now, the editorials against the
Yeah,
deal,
all you're hearing
well, by
against
far
the deal.
outstretched, you know, anything I've read to sway me in favor of this, and I'm not gonna say I'm for or against it right now, but I guess I wanna be more informed so I can know which way I wanna be.
I
And-
agree
and
with that.
That's
That
where we're
comes
trying to
with
spend the
price
time now,
They
trying
just
to
approved
provide the
1,000
information and
last
moving forward
meeting.
with it.